Monday the 22nd of September reflections. We started off today by doing a bit of swaying stretching like we normally do. Then we went on to Grotowski and we learned a bit about him. So he's Polish and he was a director and a teacher. He descends from the Stanislavski system, and he's the creator of Paul Theatre. And it says that he believes that emotions and thoughts are assessed and communicated primarily through the body. So we did a bit of plastiques. So this is where we started off. So you start off with an isolation, and then you see where that isolation leads. So, so we started off by just moving our hand, seeing how you move the hand, and then when you move the hand, you realise the rest of the arm is moving. So your elbows, when your hand goes down, your elbow's going up, and your shoulder then joins in with that movement. So that's how that one hand movement brings in the rest of the rest of your body. Because then once you start moving your arm, your body moves with it. So you kind of look like you're dancing, kind of. So that was plastiques, how one isolation can build into the whole body moving. I enjoyed that because you don't realise how your body moves. You don't realise if I move my hand, if I'm waving, my elbow's also moving, but my shoulders also moved because my hand's a bit higher up. So it's quite good learning about how your body moves. After that, we spoke about planes of gesture. So if you're above the head, you're really excited. If it's your head, you're intelligent. If it's your chest, you are passionate, you're giving your love. If it's your stomach, it's a bit earnest. And then if it's below the stomach, pelvis area, it's disgusting. So we just spoke about those again. Yeah. After that, we then learn about the wave. So we all had to sit down and do a wave, didn't matter what, and figure out what moves when you wave. So when I wave, my shoulder's up more because it's a bit higher, and then it's kind of just my fingers that move. Or if I was doing a different one, my whole arm would move if I'm shaking. So that kind of thing. We then spoke about when do you where is the circumstance where you have to wave, and what can affect your kind of wave. So we were speaking about waving goodbye to a loved one you're never going to see again, waving goodbye to a colleague you're going to see next week, or waving goodbye to the bride and groom on their honeymoon. So thinking about different scenarios, how you would wave differently. I know I wave differently depending on who it is. So we then had to get into groups and create a scene where we were waving to someone. So me, Caitlin and Summer, we planned it as where we were leaving her house and we were on the bus and we were saying goodbye, hope you're see you next time, that sort of stuff. So we couldn't speak because she couldn't hear us. So we kind of was wave, maybe signal to next time. We did a love heart to signal we love you, goodbye, that sort of stuff. Then we performed those scenes. After that, we then went into movement. So we practiced more variations of sword fighting, just so we can get used to it, because I think every single Shakespeare piece, especially mine, Romeo and Juliet, we have quite a lot of fight scenes. So we have the beginning opening fight scene between the civilians, between the people that support Montague, the people that support Capulet. So we have that big fight. Then we have a fight between Tybalt and Mercutio, where Mercutio dies. Then we have a fight between Romeo and Tybalt. So we have quite a few. So it's quite good learning how to do the sword fighting, even without the swords, just to get the movement so we're safe. just so we know that we've got some in our head, like, of what we can do, if you get me. After break, we then did our lovely breathing exercises. So we lay on the floor and just do our breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. And then we add a bit more like humming, so and then we add a bit more vocalization, so and then we did this new one this week where we did like a whistle hum. I can't whistle, so I just had to do the but your mouth is in the shape of like when you whistle. So if you can't whistle, you still like your lips are like in a pout kind of, with that little bit of breathe air hole where you whistle. But that was a new one because it helps put it in a different placement in a sense. We then spoke about enjambment. So this is for like Shakespeare. And enjambment is the running over of a sentence or phrase from one poetic line to the next. And then we talked about a caesura, I can't really say it, which is a break or a pause in the middle of a line or of verse. So then we got like examples. So for the Romeo and Juliet ones, an enjambment would be, and he will make the fact of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garnished sun. So that was the enjambment. And then the caesura one was 2 households, both alike in dignity. Like, you know what I mean? You can like tell the difference. Then we spoke about how enjambment quickens the pace, and then it develops the idea and like strings ideas together, as a caesura is slow pace and allows thoughts, so it lets ideas jump one to the other, which helps if you're like reading one. So for the Romeo and Juliet, I have to read, oh Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name, and if wilt not, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's all one thing. And then some of her lines are a bit more all over the place. Like, she's got more ideas, so she's like saying them more as caesura. We then picked an item from a tray / box. I picked a ceramic cup, which was white, and it had like a blue like rim at the top. We then had to examine the item, and then after we examined it, we had to become the object. We then spoke about embodiment, so we then unbecame our object, and we had to look at the object and think, what can we embody from this object? So like kind of the ideas like, is the object, does it feel hard or soft? Does it look old or does it look tired? Is it kind of playfully or is it dirty? So you got to think about that. I played mine as like old because it was kind of breaking at the top. The colour was kind of going. So I played mine as like old and just, but not frail, like old and like stern, because it's it's a ceramic cup, so it's quite hard. So I played it quite slow, and his voice was deep, like that. Like, that's how I imagined the cup. After that, we then did it with trees. So we had to look for a tree we would like kind of like to become. I picked a willow tree, and I kind of took the aspects of it kind of hiding away. Like, the leaves are kind of like hair flowing down, covering its face. So I took that as it's kind of shy, kind of wants to be to itself, doesn't like talking much. So when I played this as we walked around the room, I kind of kept my head hung low, put my hands together, walked very slowly, but deliberately kind of avoiding people. And if people spoke to me, I didn't acknowledge it. I just walked kind of a bit faster. So that's how I created my willow tree. And that was the end of Monday.